Hello and welcome back to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector. We are back on the base. We've just finished our last contract, and I think we're going to build up to doing the next one as well. So our next contract, to remind ourselves, is this one here, the Ice-Rich Asteroid. We're going to go and survey it for Malik to get 250 cryo as a reward. So in terms of our clock thing here, Lane is back on our trail. So, I mean, we have, 6 or 7 cycles on the station before we really would feel like we had to leave. But yeah, I mean, we're doing okay. I'm going to keep hold of, these materials and stuff because we've got enough money to, run around with for now, I think. Numbers, impressing Nember, so maybe we could try and do a bit of that. Which notices people do good work. Why don't we pop in a couple of our 4s? Neutral outcome, +2 energy, plus impressing Nember. That's nice. So let's keep doing that. Can't think of too much else I'd want to do on the station before we leave. Positive outcome, there we go. So if I pop in my 3, that is hopefully enough to finish that wheel. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue that. Sleeper, Nember wants to see you. You nod to the other volunteers as you wipe off your hands and clip your cutlery to the magnetic rack. You drift out of the improvised canteen on your way to the kitchen in the back. It was a busy shift, and each shift seems busier than the last. That makes sense, of course. You've seen the steady flow of refugees arriving from the inner system, and most of them, with barely a chit to their name, end up in the underhang. As you cross into the kitchen, you can still hear the rumble of the refugees' conversations through the hatch. The other chef leads you past the rehydrators and the hand-built centrifugal oven to a small office unit at the back of the kitchen. They knock on the door for you, then glide away to finish their own meal, leaving you to wait by it. You look around the small but carefully arranged kitchen as you wait. Your shifts here having left you with familiar with the mix of improvised and salvaged equipment, some of which you'd never seen before you came here. There we go, this is Nember. Come in, Sleeper. Nember is perched at a desk, uplit by a small transparent terminal screen, reading glasses perched atop of the end of his nose. You've seen Nember before, but not as much as you'd imagined you would while working at a place called Nember's Kitchen. Even though there isn't a proper sign out front, everyone in the underhang knows its name. The man himself is more of a mystery. Apart from the occasional barked order in the busy kitchen, he is little more than a blur to you. Why do you work here? He barely looks up from his terminal screen, the scrolling text reflected in his lenses. I want to help. Uh-huh. Nember stops scrolling the screen and looks over his glasses at you. You do well here, Sleeper. You're fast, precise, you're doing good work. He goes back to scrolling. Thanks. Nember lifts a hand in response. That's my worry, Sleeper. Good workers like you, they move on fast. He leans back and looks at you. 10 cycles, maybe more, maybe less, and then they're gone. And the team? The team gets used to having them here, gets used to working at that pace, and then suddenly they have to work differently. They have to pick up the slack, change jobs, change stations, and a few of them think, well, maybe it's time I moved on too. So what I've found is good workers are trouble, especially those who come and go, like you. He pauses, watching you. Let him speak. This place, it runs on consistency, Sleeper. Those that turn up every cycle, good or bad, they get the people fed. He takes off his reading glasses, inspecting them for smudges. And let's be honest, that ain't you. So let's cut it. Let's cut to it. I can't use you in the kitchen anymore. You're done. He shrugs. Sorry. But this place also runs on all those machines out there, on the suppliers I can rope in, the donations. Feeding refugees from the inner system is logistics as much as it is chefing. He shakes his head, which is why I'm cooped up in the back. So, maybe you're gone, I never see you again. Okay, thanks for coming, we'll soldier on without you. But maybe you still want to be useful. Maybe I heard you have a ship. He smiles at you. Yeah, maybe I heard you chatting. And maybe I have a little something held up in a place only a ship like yours can reach. I negotiated the purchase of some valuable inner system spores from a group that came from there. They somehow ended up at the depot in Greenbelt. Nember sighs. So if you head to Greenbelt and you find the delivery and you bring it back, well, Nember looks at you pointedly. That would be helping. That would be the kind of helping a good worker, even an inconsistent worker, might be able to offer me. Nember squints at you. Seems like the kind of thing that someone genuine, someone who wants to help for real might do, don't you think? He doesn't wait for your reply. But it also seems like the kind of thing that might sit on a list of priorities for so long it disappears and never gets done. I've seen that happen too. I guess we'll find out which it is. He deftly places his reading glasses back on his face and continues to scroll the screen on his terminal. You know the way out, Sleeper. You turn in the doorway, slightly taken aback, and it slides shut behind you. You glide out through the kitchen, through the improvised canteen and the people eating and chatting there, and into the cold underhang passageway beyond. All the time considering what you might do next and recalling that persuasive glint in Nember's eyes. Okay, so we got a new drive and probably a new mission. Help Nember. There we go. So we look at the map. Can I scroll the map, or do we have... Oh, look at that. So Flotsam. That's dark side, so that's where we can't go. That's where that thing blew up. We can't get to... Oh, that's the something yards. I can't... I don't think I... Oh, hang on. I don't think I can scroll the map. But, oh, I can. Scatter yards. So that's where we want to go, but we can't get past that zone. We might be able to go there from Flotsam, though. Holmes Rock needs a Hasnav. Helion Gate. Greenbelt. That's where Nember wants us to go. Hollow. Okay, so for instance this one, we just don't currently have enough fuel. It would cost, we could get there. It would cost us 4, so I would need to buy another fuel. And what's up here? Wellspring. That's where we need to go and meet Cadet, I think? It's so cool. Alright, well Flotsam is on our list of things, I think, isn't it? Seraphin's sister? Oh no, that's Wellspring. Meet Cadet in the Scatter Yards. Nember's the Greenbelt. Oh, I need to find a tech in Flotsam. Well, that's probably what I'll do next after we've done the asteroid. But let's see what else I might be able to do before we leave for there. Yeah, so that's not really my forte. We can work here. Scrap shift. We would have 2 guaranteed positive results. I don't know if I want to get rid of my raw scrap here. I'm not that desperate for cash right now. Gaia is just buying food. The trade hall. Well, we need to... Maybe we'll fill up on fuel anyway. And maybe supplies too. Maybe I should work a couple of shifts somewhere. We're full up on fuel and supplies now, and that's good. So here... Intuit and interface checks. I'm actually quite decent at both of those now. And then we have... Belt bomb. Oh, this is the gambling place, isn't it? Well, yeah, I'm not particularly good at that, so... I'm trying to think what might pay the most. Probably this. Why don't we try one in there? And I'll do one over here as well. 13 cryo, okay. What do I get over here? 13 cryo, okay, well. We've got a bit of cryo, we've got a full fuel tank, we've got supplies, we've got some raw materials. I think we should be good to go out on our contract then. Used our dice, obviously we're going to re-roll before we get there, so that's fine. Let's head there. Can I select both of these? Yes, I can, cool. Okay, yeah, we'll do that then. We're taking Bliss and Eugen. Let's go. Here we go. The asteroid looms large in the cockpit's glass. Light glints off the sheets of surface ice, the same glint that must have caught Malik's attention when he was fleeing the Conway countermeasures that damaged the Springtide. Yeah, we've rolled okay. The one is a bit disappointing, but you know, it's gonna happen, isn't it? 2 6s is good. There's been no sign of Conway drones or mines, but that hasn't stopped Seraphin being cautious in the approach. You have to admit you found yourself searching the black void of space for a telltale blinking red beacon too. We're close enough to jump down to the surface. Seraphin locks down the engines. I didn't see anything on the score, but I'll keep her warm just in case. Why so jumpy? Did you see those holes in the springtide? Seraphim responds without looking away from the controls. We hit one of those conway mines, we'll be dust. I say we call this snowball fast. Eugene shrugs. The less time we're out here, the less likely we ought to run into anything. Into anything Conway left behind. He smiles. Simple. Sure, Seraphim cuts in, but fast means messy, and messy means more damage to the ice. We didn't need to crack the shelf and lose half of the water we came to survey. Who said anything about messy? Eugene stretches, unclipping from his seat. Fast and clean. He winks at you. Easy. You unclip from your seat and kick off towards the airlock. The scale of the asteroid is troubling, but Seraphim assured you on the journey that surveying it would be easy enough. Just take a sample from the deep ice for testing. The problem is, he said, is getting down that deep. You're going to have to cut away at the ice, dig yourself a hole, and doing so will create fractures in the shelf. The asteroid may be big, but it is held together with only a weak gravitational force. The more the ice is cracked away, the less there is for the fast spindle to harvest, something you doubt Malik will be happy about. You push the worry to the back of your mind and get suited up. Something on your mind? Bliss drifts up behind you and pulls a suit from the rack. Oh, I just hope we don't mess up. Me too, they shrug. I don't want to jinx you, but it seems simple enough. Can't say rock, or in this case ice cutting, is my usual strength, but it's got to be simpler than slicing a hull without touching any of the internals. Bliss zips up their suit. We'll be fine. Bliss's reassurance that they don't have any experience with the job you're about to do doesn't exactly calm your worries, but their nonchalant attitude helps, especially when you consider the volume of ice you're about to start cutting into. Cheer up! Bliss punches you on the arm as you get into the airlock. Might never happen. The lock cycles and you find yourself staring out at the glinting surface of the asteroid. 1 second, sleeper. Seraphim's voice comes over the comms. I'm seeing something here. Some kind of man-made shaft on the far side of the asteroid. Interesting. Eugene has stood beside you in the airlock, but in this vacuum you only hear him through the comms link. Crew sometimes stash goodies out on rocks like this. Let's go take a look. He pats you on the shoulder. Just hold up. Seraphim's voice cuts through. The survey is our first priority, and the integrity of the water ice. Hunting for buried treasure comes dead last on the to-do list. You can almost hear his eyes roll through the comms link. Dinna get distracted. You squint at the rock and spot a dark recess just over the curve of the asteroid. That'll be the distraction then. You refocus on the ice sheet. Time to get started. Here we are. So, okay, well Bliss and Eugene both rolled relatively well, apart from the one. But we also rolled a 1, so we can't be too harsh on them. That's the frozen shaft, so we will leave that till last, I think. Let's focus on the job in hand. So, we have an engineering task, so us and Bliss are relatively good at that. And we have a survey task, which only I'm good at. Eugene's not a lot of help here, but when it might once we've done this initial part, maybe he'll come into his own. Slice away ice. Rather than scanning for a sampling location, you can make one by chipping away the surface ice to reach the core. This is an aggressive approach, or survey surface. A section by section surface scan will guide you to a good sampling location, but with such a vast sheet, progress will be slow. This is a dangerous one. I think as long as we put 6s into here, we should be okay. Sampling location. To get a survey of the water quality and volume, you'll need to take a sample core from the deepest section of ice. Okay. Well, I think let's start off with our 6s to get some guaranteed positive results on this. So that's a 3. That's not bad. So we can add another 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll be just over halfway once I put my 2 dice in. The question then becomes what we do with Eugene. I could attempt my... Well, let's tell you what, let's just come out of this one. We'll have a look at the frozen shaft and see what's going on here. So Eugene is actually fairly good at clearing the ice, so I'll definitely put his 6 in there. So shaft descent. Frozen and dark, descending the shaft to whatever lies beneath is a dangerous and delicate process. The shaft may be clogged with ice, but dark cracks suggest a more subtle way through, even if it will be slow going. So I'm not going to put in my stuff into here, but both myself and Bliss could do that relatively well. Clear the ice. Eugene's good at that. The fastest way to descend the shaft is to break away the ice clogging it. Yeah. Okay, so let's put in his 6 at least. It is a much shorter clock. If I put this in, we'll take the chance on that. Neutral. Okay, so +1 ice stress, even on a neutral outcome. So that's not great, but we'll come out of that for now. Let's go back here. I was debating whether to... I might put my 3 in the less risky thing here. And hope for a decent result. Negative. Well, it was only to be... Well, I mean, it was negative, but it was only 1 stress to me, so it wasn't terrible. But I think that's about as much as I'm going to do today, because I don't want to put in any 1s or 2s. So let's end the cycle. I guess I could have pushed that. I kind of forgot I could do that. Eugen's roll's terrible. Okay. So we're not going to be doing anything in the Frozen Shaft today. But let's... I'm going to... Yeah, so I'm going to put my... well, yeah, I'll put my 6 in here. And my 5. Because that's 2 positive results. I guess I'll put the 5 in there, because then there's no chance of a negative result at least. Even a neutral one should be fine. It was actually positive. Good. Okay. So we've done the sampling, so let's leave that. Oh, new location. Okay. Deep ice. What have we got here? So the only person who's any good at extracting the core sample is going to be Eugen, but he's rolled 1s, so we aren't going to be doing that. So let's go back to the Frozen Shaft and see what me and Bliss can do here. Well, okay, so if I can put that in, and hopefully to get a decent... Yeah. Do I put in the 3? The 3 seems a bit risky. Let's try it. We haven't been rolling particularly well. Yeah. Well, it was stress on Bliss, which isn't the end of the world if we just do it that one time. I'm not going to... Well, what's my 3? Take a chance. Okay, neutral. Fine. Okay, I could push my dice, but then it's only going to become a 2, which will become a 3. Probably not worth it to incur the stress, so let's just leave it there. And we will go rest. Eugen rolling these 1s, but he did get a 5, so not too bad there. Right, Eugen, we're going to pop that in there then. Neutral. Oh, okay. I mean, he got stressed for that, which isn't great. Now, if I put my 6 in, what does that become? That becomes a 4, which isn't amazing. Yeah, me and Bliss are pretty rubbish at that. Could keep doing this. So I put in my... Put in the 3. I'll take a chance on that. Good. Okay, so we can get down there. Derelict bunker. What we got? So Eugen, not much good here. But we have scavenged data. Some mysterious terminals sit in the dark. Their cases may be rusted, but perhaps the drives inside can be spun up. Good. Okay, well, I'm pretty good at that. Ghosts of the past. What was this place? If you can get one of the terminals started, perhaps you can extract some answers. And then we have the scavenge hardware, which me and Bliss are pretty good at. So you inspect lumps of corroded scrap frozen into the walls. This place looks grim, but maybe something within the ice you can find maybe within the ice you can find something useful. Rusted treasures. This place has been abandoned for decades, but perhaps there are some useful components tucked away. Yeah, so I'm gonna pop you in there. Work towards this scavenged data thing. Do I try the 3? Yeah. Neutral? Okay, I'm gonna go with neutral. Try that again. Okay, good. Alright, well, I'll live with that. I could push and get another 3. Let's do it. Oh, we actually got 5, so I think that was worth it, because I can finish this clock now. Alright, so that's done. Yeah, let's continue then, before we do the dice on the salvage. A flickering screen catches your eye in the dark of the bunker. A distorted female face, further refracted by the surrounding ice, stares at you from the terminal with blank white eyes. You move closer, straining to hear her voice, but the recording is silent, or perhaps the terminal's audio output is broken. All you can do is watch the pale face as it contorts through the corruption and noise. It could be explaining some important secret, long forgotten, or just recounting a personal anecdote. It's hard to tell. Circles and curving arcs flash across the face, graphical visualizations of orbits and flight plans. You squint at them, the shapes unknown to you. And then, as soon as it starts, the playback ends, leaving a frozen frame on the screen, a ghost face circled by orbits. You slot a drive into the terminal and copy what residual data is left, unsure where it might lead you. Once it is done, you shut off the terminal once and for all. As you leave the bunker, the pale face flashes once more in your mind. Those blank eyes, the flat stare. Is that a human or something else? You turn the image over in your mind, unsure of its importance. Okay. Well, let's pop in Bliss's die into the scavenge hardware and see what we can do here. Positive, so got +2, so if they can get a positive on this 5, so flip a coin on that, that should be enough to finish that. Neutral, +1 ice stress. Not amazing, but okay, we'll come back at some point to finish that off. I'm not going to put Eugen's 1 in, so let's just rest up. Okay, got some good rolls. Oh, Eugen, killing me, man. Okay, can I do anything with my good dice here? I mean, even my 6 is going to be a 4. We're running out of time on this. I might have to put my 6s in and just hope for the best. So I got 1 stress on a neutral outcome, but I'm going to put another 6 in. Positive, okay. So we're getting through it, not thrilled I took a stress, but I'm going to put Bliss's die in. Negative, I stress and her stress. Damn. I want to put my 5 in particularly. I'm going to need Eugen to roll a bit higher on that, I'm afraid. Put my 5 in. Let's get this stuff done. Brilliant. Rusted treasures. We got Solheim data. Data left behind from the corporation that once owned Helion. I think we got a couple of rare components as well, actually, which is quite nice. So we're done there, aren't we? Yeah. Alright, so we just need to finish off the clock on this deep ice, I think. We're going to have to rest again. I don't really want to put in any of the dice that we've got here into this clock. Because even Eugen doesn't get like a positive thing, so like, yeah. It's a shame. Alright, well we're running out of supplies, so we need him to roll at least a 4. Oh my god, man. Oh, you're killing us. I'll put in the 3. Neutral. Well, I don't care him getting stressed, but we've almost finished the clock. I'm going to have to put in the 2. Well, to be honest, my 6 is better than his 2, isn't it? So... positive, thank God. Okay, continue. The sample core, a long and weighty cylinder of cloudy ice, comes up out of the borehole cleanly. It glows in the sunlight, catching the rays in its frosted interior. Oh, nicely done, Sleeper. Bliss chirps through the comms. I've never caught an asteroid before, but the result is pretty. Oh, let's just hope it's drinkable. Hey, let's not melt it down for liquid refreshment just yet, Seraphine chimes in. It's likely packed with unpleasant impurities. The question is, are they the kind of impurities the fast spindle can filter out? Let's get it up to the ship and we can run the analysis on the trip back. Seraphin pauses. And before you get any ideas about digging around on that asteroid some more, remember that if we break away any of the ice, Malik will likely dock our pay. You start the journey back up to the ship, dragging the sample core with you. As you do you look back down at the asteroid, wondering if it might be the bargaining chip Malik has been looking for. You'll know soon enough. Complete. Well, we're going to head back. We're done here, so that's good. So go to map. Leave. Oh, I think they went relatively well. It was a shame that Eugene was the only one who could do that core, and he just kept rolling absolute trash. But it's fine. Starting to get some stress on these dice. On the journey back from the asteroid, you pored over the tests Malik had given you to run, improvising the necessary equipment from your mess. Each one produced spools of data, much of which you couldn't pass. Arriving into the vicinity of Farspindle, you broadcast these strings of data to Malik's personal terminal on the Springtide, as instructed. Despite all this preparation, you're still surprised when you find Malik standing at the far side of the docking tunnel as you leave the rig. What was his voice? Oh, yeah. Sleeper. He nods neatly at you. I thought it was better I come down here away from my crew to discuss your findings. And the findings were straight to the point. He clasps his hands. Good. As I suspected, the asteroid was indeed rich with water ice. Thankfully, the contaminants can be dealt with. He speaks matter-of-factly, betraying little emotion. With the data you provided, I should be able to convince the Farspindle administration of its worth. Ah, then we're good. Malik smiles. Well, that remains to be seen. Before I make payment, I would like to ask, in person, if you saw anything else of consequence. Anything to share with me that might affect my dealings with the Farspindle. He folds his arms across his chest. I prefer not to have any surprises when they go to retrieve the water. There was a shaft. Interesting. Malik smiles. It's likely of no consequence, but if there is something of value there, it could play to my benefit. I'll mention the potential of additional salvage to the Farspindle administration. Given the data, it doesn't seem to have impacted the ice. Malik reaches into his pocket and produces a stack of cryo chits, bound carefully with a strip of paper. 250 cryo is agreed. You take the chits and quickly tuck them away. And with that, our business is concluded, Sleeper. Malik nods lightly. I must speak with the administration to negotiate the release of my ship and then prepare for immediate departure. The Syndicate will be eager for my successful return. Thank you. Malik bows and turns. Should our paths cross again, I will see that it will be to your benefit. Nice. Cool. Honest in our dealings with him, and I think that paid off pretty well. So, how do we get the nav thing that we need to... I'm assuming we'll be able to do it quite obviously at some point. But I think we'll move on. We're going to go to the trade hall. We've got cash now, so let's fill up on supplies and fuel. Oh. Yeah, do that. And we'll fill up our supplies. Sweet, we got some nice stuff as well. Hopefully that'll be worth selling at some point. Or indeed do other stuff with it, like repair our dice. That's good I've got the rare components for that. But let's look at the map. So we want to... I'm thinking go to Flotsam. I'd like to... There's obviously something going on with the Sleeper, so I'd quite like to find a tech and maybe sort that out. So let's do it. -3 hunt. Yeah, that's fine, because we've only got one anyway. Here we go, new place. It's hard to tell where Flotsam ends and the ships parked at its many docking bridges begin. As Seraphin docks with the station, you realise that the rig now looks like just another piece of accumulated technology. One more bit of driftwood added to the raft. I love this place. Seraphin smiles as he shuts down the engines. You never can what you'll find. You've been here before? Aye, back when I first came to the belt. The crew I signed on with used to run salvage jobs out of here. Fun place to spend your wages. You see Bliss eyeing the station with what looks like both horror and fascination. You see the seals? They point out some twisted assemblage of ship parts. Total cowboy wells. They could pop any moment. Seraphin waves away their concerns. Oh, that's just the outer layer. I heard there's 6 or 7 in all, so if one fails, it's no problem. He stretches and turns to you. You gotta taste some of the stuff they grow in old Takei. He kisses his fingers. Aye, that's that good shit. Oh, great, Bliss sighs. So many layers of redundancy and fallbacks that you have no hope of isolating a leak and fixing it. They rap on the wall of the rig. Sounds like a ship I know. Defend the rig. Seraphine joins in, the two of you shoulder to shoulder. She got you hurt here, didn't she? He shrugs at Bliss. No sense of gratitude. I was joking. Bliss looks a little hurt and drifts out of the cockpit, shaking their head. You go to follow, but Seraphine puts a hand on your shoulder. Sleeper. He looks suddenly serious. Remember what I said about getting checked out? There are artifices all over this place. Yeah, take a bit of searching, but we need to know what's going on with you. He meets your eye. That's why we're here. Good. Seraphine nods. Let me ken what they say. I'm gonna go and see if any of my old haunts are still open. He drifts out the cockpit with a mock salute. Catch you later. You're left alone in the cockpit with a view of Flotsam's chaotic structure. You look over the multicolour plating. It does, you admit, have a certain charm. Okay, so we probably only got the thing here, which is probably going to be like exploring it. We've got some good dice, so that's not the end of the world. Yeah, so we got Engineer and Intuit, both of which we're pretty good at, so that's nice. Explore Flotsam, a ramshackle assemblage of decommissioned ships and wrecks. To call Flotsam labyrinthine is a serious understatement. Flotsam is made from maybe hundreds of ships, gathered and modified over time. A good engineer might be able to identify them. Analyze structure, explore Flotsam. Okay. It doesn't really matter which way we go. They're both risky, they're both something we're decent at, so let's just pop all these dice in and see where we get to. That's half the clock. Hopefully with the 4 and a 3, finish that off. Chance of only a neutral or negative one, to be fair. Positive. There we go. We're done. The chaos of Flotsam intrigues you. Passage to Passages is the most incoherent place you've ever visited. Plating, cladding, and cushioning of all kinds of conditions hides a forest of wires and ducts, interfacing in ways their manufacturers would never dream possible. Rooms are crushed cargo bays, flipped bridges, and eviscerated engine rooms. Patchwork corridors are lumpen with messy welds bending worryingly along their length. It is, to put it nicely, a total mess. It's not that you don't like it, but finding an artificer among this chaos has been more than a little challenging. This cycle, searching these winding passages once more, seeing only scrap merchants and junk shops, you have begun to wonder if Seraphine had any idea what he was talking about when he advised you to come here. Okay. Oh, asleep. I'm gonna... Okay, well, voice is neutrally until we know who it is speaking, then I'll decide on a voice for them. A sleeper. The voice cuts through the pungent air. Well, I never. Oh, I was going to go with an old voice, and I think that seems like it might apply, doesn't it? So, this is Jean-Mi, strange artificer. You look in the voice's direction and find yourself looking at a small booth piled with tech. Behind a fogged and scratched plastic screen is a meticulously arranged counter, the only clear spot in sight. At it, an older man with wet and wandering eyes sits neatly. Approach the booth. Jean-Mi tilts his head. I didn't mean to be rude, please. And he bows a little. That's okay. He smiles warmly, almost bowing again, his hunched shoulders accentuating the movement. How... He pauses, taking care with his speech now. How are you feeling, sleeper? He beckons you a little closer. I am Jean-Michel. Oh, okay, no, that's fine. Though pleased to you, Jean-Mi. I work with machines. He sweeps a hand above his counter, where you see configurations of tiny parts, mostly small ones. I'm not great. Yes, of course. He chops with his hands to indicate a stool with a leg bar meant for perching beside his counter, and such is the clarity and persuasiveness of his movement that you obligingly sit. Your presence is a rare honor here. He smiles and looks down into his lap. I'm sorry if I make you uncomfortable. I'm just very pleased to see you. That's okay. He looks up. Oh, very kind of you to say. I can see your journey to me has not been easy, he says with genuine concern. You track his eyes across your body, noticing the scuff marks on your thick vinyl-like skin, the replaced and broken parts of your body, the marks of violence. You pull your jacket a little tighter. Jean-Mi folds his hands, one over the other, and places them on the counter. I don't know what your experiences have been, but I want to assure you I see you as a person, a being, a soul, shall we say, as valid as any other. You look at Jean-Mi, his own age and wear also evident. a life of precise and careful work shaping his body into a reflection of this process. You note his unconfident way of speaking, which betrays a certain loneliness, a lack of practice. It is his turn to feel observed. I understand. Oh, you're kind. The frankness of the remark takes you by surprise. He looks down at his counter and begins to take apart a tiny piece of machinery that sits there. Many years ago, when I began my apprenticeship, I would find that whenever I saw something that, was not working well, I was fixated on it and its repair. He tinkers with the parts, twisting them precisely. Of course, the belt is filled with this kind of dysfunctional detail, and so I was busy for many years with these small fixings. He smiles in reminiscence. But now I find that when I'm interested in a thing that is not working as it should, he sharply twists one of the parts between his fingers, it is because it might have some quality not yet foreseen or discovered. He releases the altered object into the air where it balletically twists in a hypnotic display, like a spinning top whose movements are totally unpredictable. Jean-Mi smiles at you watching his hypnotic toy. I can see that you are in a process of becoming, Sleeper. He catches the spinning toy between a finger and thumb. Let me aid you in this. What do you mean? Jean-Mi's precise hands drop to a device around his neck. He deftly pulls a pair of goggles up to his face, masking his wet eyes. Hold still, Sleeper. Something flickers inside the goggles, their face blank. Jean-Mi's hands play across buttons and switches on the exterior. Tuning, focusing. Let him work. When the goggles are finally lowered, they reveal a look of concern on Jean-Mi's face. I think you'd better come inside. He kicks off from his desk and disappears. A moment later you hear a rattle and a small bulkhead door beside the booth that you'd assumed was rusted shut creaks open. Jean-Mi beckons you inside. Jean-Mi's workshop is even more cramped than you expected. As you enter, you're surrounded on all sides with netting holding bundles and bundles of terminals, servers, drives and cables. At its center, a padded seat and a set of articulated arms mounted with sensors and tools fill the space. The seat, please. Jean-Mi gestures at it with a polite smile. Sit. You tentatively settle on the seat, slipping your arms and feet into the straps meant to keep you from floating out of it in 0G. Jean-Mi floats beside you. He looks across your body. There is damage here, I see that. We will get to that. But I see something else here as well. This is why you came. He looks at you solemnly. Yes. No, I've never met a sleeper. I have studied them. I was lucky to acquire some materials from SNARP some time ago in the interest of my own endeavors. He begins arranging a series of sensors around you on articulated arms. You are pleasingly distinct from those materials. His eyes flash with excitement. Am I right in thinking that you've been modified? I rebooted myself. Yes, I see that your dependency on stabilizer, on the immune recoding portion of its makeup at least, has been broken. He gives you a precise look. But that is not all. You are physically modified, not externally, but internally. He carefully positions the final sensor. Your tracker is disabled, which makes it impossible for SNARP to find you. Congratulations. He smiles broadly. But this is not all. You have been modified, yes, but you are also being modified as we speak. You feel a strange claustrophobia at Jean-Mi's statement. Modified? Seraphine rebooted your system, ran the recoding protocol, but that shouldn't have physically changed you. It only removed your planned obsolescence. That can't be right. Oh, then you were not aware. He nods. I'm sorry to hear that. Jean-Mi goes to a terminal and flicks a switch. Through the back of the translucent screen, you see a nodal web in the vague shape of a sitting body. Your body. These changes appear to be quite complex. Subtle, but consistent. Jean-Mi goes silent as he taps at the terminal, the representation of your body rotating and unfolding in unsettling motions. What changes? See here. He points at a flickering representation of your spine, tracing a line towards your head. Your nervous system is growing additional nodal points, here and here. Meanwhile, your emulation interface is growing an umbilical access port, though towards what end, I'm unsure. You instinctively reach back and touch the base of your head. As you do, the scan flickers and screeches with noise. You feel for something there, growing under your thick vinyl skin. Can you feel a lump, or is that just your imagination? You pick at it. Jean-Mi sighs and shuts off the terminal. The changes are partial, and in all honesty, He gestures sharply at the sensors. The resolution is too poor. I need to run a full diagnostic, but for that I would need... He drifts over to another terminal and brings up screens and screens of text and diagrams. Yes, some kind of medium to hold your suspended emulation. The access jack I can build myself, but we will need to bridge your emulation. Jean-Mi speaks quietly, almost to himself. A ship mind would be ideal for this. Would have to be high capacity, a prime ship mind, Solheim in origin. Perhaps Helion Gate might hold records of any that were in the system. He taps at the terminal. Jean-Mi turns back to you. Yes, the prime ship mind is essential if you wish further investigations to be done. I will need this above all. He thumbs the terminal off. I'm sorry to say, Sleeper. Can't you tell me more? Accurately? No. He meshes his fingers in front of his chest. It is clear that a process has begun, but has yet to complete. Jean-Mi busies himself with taking down the sensors and folding away the articulated arms. As he does, you try to calm yourself. You feel as if you've got worms under your skin, and it takes all your focus not to pick at its seams. Jean-Mi suddenly but gently places a hand on yours. Please, remain calm. He puts a carefully restored rare component in your hand. This can help you. Jean-Mi waits for you to fall still. Then he leans back a little, relieving some of the strange intimacy of the moment. For now, our work is concluded. He meshes his fingers again and bows with a small head bob. But you are welcome any time. Thank you. Of course. His manner seems to have returned to something more businesslike, a humble man who knows his customers' needs. You get up from the seat a little dazed and push away into the passage. Safe travels, Sleeper, Jean-Mi says quietly, placing the promised list in your hand as he lets you back into the station. You leave dazed, unsure of how you feel about the insistence of this man's particular kindness, but most of all haunted by the idea of the unseen processes that are running within you. Part of you doesn't wish to know anything further, to leave this place and never look back, and another is desperate to immediately retrieve every object on this list so you may know what strangeness is happening within you. But now you must steady yourself and find a way to continue. Seraphine comes to find you in your bunk. After Jean-Mi's assessment, you find yourself drifting back to the rig in need of familiarity and comfort of your own ship. Sleeper, he drifts in. You found an artificer? He hovers by the door, looking concerned. Let's explain. You tell him about Jean-Mi, how he offered you repairs and ran an assessment of your frame. You described the cramped booth, the articulated arms, the strangeness of seeing your own body anatomized upon the terminal screen. Then you tell him that your body is changing, growing in ways Jean-Mi cannot identify. That some process has been started and you don't know where it will end. You mention umbilical ports and nodal points, trying your best to remember the details of the things Jean-Mi asked you to retrieve. Seraphine grows pale and silent. He shakes his head when you stop talking. Lane, he frowns. That piece of shit has to be behind this. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, for sure. Seraphine looks stubbornly at the floor. Aye, well, we'll get you what you need. We'll find that ship mind. He nods. A bit of work here and there and we can make it to Helion Gate and whatever else. What about your stuff? We'll do that too. He thumps the wall. We're free, Sleeper. No one can stop us. Say the word, okay? He goes quiet. Didn't give up on yourself just yet. He smiles. Yeah, get up and get back to it. And with that he turns and kicks off down the corridor, disappearing from sight. You wait a little while, staring at the stained ceiling of the bunks, letting the thoughts settle in your mind. And then, when you're ready, you get up and leave. Dazed, but with a stony determination growing in your chest. Okay, we've got a bunch of places here. I have one fairly average dice. Let's go to the narrow escape. What we got going on here? We got a contract. Alright. The narrow escape's barman, Botan, has a tip about a recovery contract. For a few chits, he'll give you the coordinates. Payments, scrap and components. My rig's blown its propulsion and I'm stranded on some godforsaken rock. Repair crew needed. We'll split haul. No time wasters or thieves. I'm armed. Okay, we'll probably do that. Let's see what else we've got around here. We've got... Oh, that's Jean-Mi. Okay, if I go back there, he's waiting for the ship mind. Integrator offices. So we could buy engine components. Lots of maintenance. That's probably work if we wanted to. Integration means meshing systems as well as scrap. Pay for it. Okay, so this is this worked for us, and we can do that well enough. Old Takei. That's Work hydroponics, that's not going to be our strength. We could buy and fill supplies, but we're fine on supplies. Could probably do with some fuel, which might well be at this tanker here. Buy scrap. We're okay for scrap. Buy fuel though. Let's fill our fuel. We could take the contract. So let's use our dice to maybe make a bit of cash. I don't think it really matters which one of these we do. Let's do this one. Okay. Right, okay, well, I think we're probably going to go off and do that contract then. The narrow escape. So we need to put a little investment of coin in. Taking the contract. Let's have a look at the map. Distress call from a lonely rock. Let's do that. We'll take our usual team. Okay. Keep your hands where I can see them. The voice crackles over the open channel of your suit comms as you near the stranded rig. You slow your approach a little as you move towards the ship, its shape lumpy and skeletal in the distant light of the sun. Warm welcome. Bodes well for the rest of the job. Bliss shoots you a concerned look. You look up at the stranded ship ahead. Clearly they're feeling a bit exposed. We're here to help. Well, I figured that, the voice retorts. Otherwise I would have put a hole in that shiny rig of yours already. You arrive at the side of the rig, inspecting the damage as you do. Half the hull plating and big chunks of the internal structure seem to be missing, but you have a feeling that this is not what you're here to fix. The airlock opens and you move inside. The interior all exposed wires and metal framework. The systems wheeze and shudder as it cycles. This is Alma, okay? Haggard Salvager. Nothing of value here, so if you're looking at me to steal something, you're welcome to it. Alma greets you plainly inside the rig. You do the work that's needed and I'll let you take your half of the haul. Straight to business, I see. Ain't that what you're here for? Her face is as placid and unchanging as a rock. If you're expecting a tea party, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Here's the short of it. Engine's conked out on me and I'm no engineer. Can usually get her going, but this time no dice. She looks between you and the rest of the crew. Surprised there's so many of you, to be honest. Bliss smiles sympathetically. Sorry about that, but don't worry. I've worked on these engines before. They give Alma a wink. I can handle this. Don't be so sure. Alma leads you towards the engine room. The layout of her rig, much the same as yours. This girl's is the sensitive type. You need to know how to handle her. The central corridor of the ship snakes in a way that isn't familiar to you, and you realise this rig is far more heavily modified than your own. Something that becomes all the more obvious when you arrive in the engine room. Rather than the rig's stock engine, a singular block and double turbine with feed lines between, Alma's engine is a mess of piping and feed lines linking up multiple raw components, welded to the interior frame of the room. Your eyes widen at the sight. Been adding to her since I was young. Alma smiles at the chaos. Might look like a mess, but she purrs when she's running. Bliss is shaking their head slowly. Oh, sleeper. They let out a puff of air. Ugh, this is gonna be special. You struggle to tell if they're intimidated or impressed. Perhaps a little bit of both. That's about all of it. Alma gestures to the exploded engine. Get her running and you'll get your half of the haul. What's the haul? Alma glides over to a window set in the side of the engine room and points to the corroded remains of a facility deep in the asteroid's loose, dusty surface. That there's the haul. She taps on the glass. As good a find as I've seen. The haul is a building? Building and all that's in it. Alma screws up her face. What, you too good for scrapping? By rights, that building's mine. Scrapper's claim. Alma scratches at her mess of hair. But you help me get her running and you're welcome to take what you want from it. Up to a maximum of 50% of raw mass, that is. We have to extract it ourselves? She looks you up and down and you feel the first acknowledgement of you being a sleeper. Oh, I doubt it'll trouble one of you. Anyhow, you're leaving with nothing unless my girl is back in shape by the time you're done. She folds her arms across her chest. So get to it. You turn back to the engine, your eyes tracing the madness of the interlocking systems. You're starting to have the horrible feeling that this contract is some kind of elaborate joke. Okay, look at that. So we've got a couple of things here. We've got her rig, we've got the ruined facility that we'll need to mine out as well. Let's have a look what the rig requires. So, well, we have something Eugene can do, the engine labour, and then myself and Bliss pretty good at the engineering parts. So, mind you, Bliss's diet, absolute rubbish. So let's start with the positive results. Let's pop that in there. See how many segments we get for that. Just 2. Okay. Do I put his 3 in? Maybe. Let's put my 5 in though, because that's again a positive guarantee. Pop my 4s in as well. Neutral. That's okay. That's half the clock. That's 6 segments done. Got some fairly low die now. So we'll look at the room facility. What have we got going on in here? So we have Endure, which Eugen's decent at, and we have Component Search that I and Bliss are decent at. Bliss doesn't seem to have any like plus on their stats. It's a little bit annoying actually. But then neither does Eugen, I think. I do, but my dice are pretty low. This is just a risky one, so it should, if we get a negative outcome, it shouldn't be too harmful. Neutral, that's fine. I could put my 2 in here. It is dangerous though, so I worry a little bit about that. I'm not going to push yet, because I think we've got plenty of time right now at this minute. So let's just rest and hope we get some better dice next time. Oh, Eugen rolled well. I rolled fairly averagely. Bliss also got a 6. So let's start off with our actual reason for being here. I might save Eugen's for the scrapping stuff. So I'll put my 5s in here as well and get some positive outcomes. In fact, my 5 should finish off the clock here. There we go. You all gather in Alma's rig to see the engine tested. The engine room purrs and chitters. It seems to warm with the sound of the engine, with the polyrhythmic vibrations that rattle through the open framework of the interior. You look over to Alma and you see her eyes are closed, a small tremble at the corner of her mouth. You look at the engine, Alma's engine, an object that you've come to respect over the past cycles, even if you haven't necessarily grown to love it. It is, as you see it now, a difficult thing to love. Whole parts of it make little sense, and its oldest systems, those now bypassed and made obsolete by newer additions, still somehow play an integral role you don't understand. It is unwieldy, and unnecessarily so, and the accumulation of parts and patches from its long service makes it surprisingly fragile. Meanwhile, other sections have been welded and re-welded so many times that they're impregnable and will never be able to be replaced. It is uncooperative and prone to sudden outbursts of cooling fluid or even fuel. It is restless and will begin to leak when left idle for too long. It is always too cold or too hot thanks to the coolant and the fuel, and it's hard to predict which it will be at any given moment. And yet, despite all this, it is an object you feel close to, that you feel kinship with. Because in the end, you too are an accumulation of broken parts, long outliving their operational limits. You too are a machine that has become a story, and a story that has grown beyond the ability of others to understand it. You look over to Alma again, and Bliss is there beside her. You can see they're talking, but with the engine running, you can't hear them. You watch for a moment, Bliss now patiently listening as, in faltering words, Alma explains something to them. Bliss nods, and then suddenly they embrace, gently and with care. Bliss pushes back, and as soon as the moment has passed, it seems like it might not have happened at all. Nothing in the two figures' attitudes betrays the act, and the room seems unchanged. You try to remember if you've seen them speaking before now, but you recall there are many moments when you were not with Bliss. As you watch Alma approach, you realize the engine is not just special to you, and that between her and Bliss, it might have been the bridge to a unique kind of respect. That's the job, sleeper. Alma approaches you from the other side of the room. And you know where the payment is to be found? I believe that brings our business to an end. Alma scratches her hair. Unless you've something to add? What will you do now? I believe that's my business. She bristles at the question. I'll need to find somewhere quiet to resupply and so on. But I don't think you'd like my usual haunts. She gives you a sly look. I appreciate the assistance. You're welcome to take what you want from the hangar, if you haven't already. You see a knowing shimmer in her eyes. Now, I must kindly ask you to leave my ship. As the airlock cycles, you look across at Bliss and swear you see a tear in their eye. You okay? Bliss turns to you as if they forgot you were there. Oh, I'm a good sleeper. Really good. They sniff. This place reminded me of why I do what I do. Why I fix things. They look ahead. Oh, there's beauty in it. You find yourself drifting away from Alma's rig in a haze of thoughts. It's clear to you at this point that Alma's history is written all over this place. But more than that, well, you can't be sure. This story, it seems, isn't for you. You realise as you gaze at the broken remains of the facility that Alma never took any of her half of the haul. You turn back and squint at the cockpit of her rig. You see her there, looking out across this wasteland, still as a statue. It's an image that, as you load into the rig and begin the preparations to depart, will stick with you. One that, every time you enter the engine room of your ship, a room almost identical to the engine room of Alma's rig will leap into your mind. A woman floating above the wreck of what was once her home, looking for a reason to keep going. Contract complete. Well, let's put some more stuff in here and try and get this stuff salvaged then. So let's pop the 5s into this one. Nice. Okay, we're getting along there. I can... mine's rubbish. Don't like that. You know what? We're not in a rush. We're not in a rush here. So, let's just go and rest one more cycle. See what dice we get. I rolled well. Eugen not so much, but Bliss pretty well. Let's have a look. So, I'm going to start putting into this clock, because we haven't really done much with this yet. So let's put all mine in. And we should hopefully pretty much finish the clock with all these dice. Pause, not a guarantee, but we'll see. Now, we got a stress, but we did add to the clock. That's fine. Why doesn't Bliss do that as well? Yay! I'm gonna put. Should I put Eugen's in here as well? Finish both of them. There is a hiss and a rush of stale air as the sealed bay deep in the facility's tunnels opens for the first time in years. The beams of your suit lamps reach into the dark, picking out waves of dust and debris. They reveal a small bay, big enough for a shuttle, but not a rig like yours. As you glide inside, those same beams catch on the frame of something that sits at the center of the bay. It is wide and flat, with a cylindrical central section that runs its length. As you move around it, looking at the sections of plates and open frame, you realize it's a ship, or at least it was. This frame, filled with rusted components and partially covered with old hull plates, suggests a fast ship, an arrowhead designed to cut through debris and even atmosphere. You float up a little to see into its central cylinder, and your lamps reveal a cockpit outfitted for 2 people, one sat behind the other. The seats are carefully upholstered, and you realize this was a labor of love. The whole ship, in fact, seems built by hand, a custom model with little function out here beyond looping around asteroids for the thrill of it. Looking closer, brushing away the surface corrosion, you see flames painted on the hull plates in curling patterns, the brushstrokes visible even after what must be many years. As you inspect the half-finished ship, a sense of quiet wonder keeping you silent, you notice a glint towards its rear. You approach it and see an engine, all interlocking tubes and flared vents. It is unlike anything you've ever seen, but the holes in its sides suggest it may never have been finished. Those holes are the source of the glint. You reach in and pull out some strange-looking engine components, each pristine and complex. You hesitate for a moment, suddenly feeling like you shouldn't be disturbing such an intimate object. But it occurs to you that nothing would please the person who built the ship more than seeing these handmade components put to use. You secure them to your suit and push away from the ship. As you leave the bay, you turn and take one last look at the treasure inside. It's possible that it never flew, or perhaps it was in the middle of an extensive refit when this place was abandoned. Either way, its flying years have long since passed, and now, with the bay open, it will corrode much faster, melding with the anonymized scrap of this place in mere cycles. You suppress a shiver and then start the journey back up to the surface, aware of the components dangling at your side. So what do we get? We got, I think, some engine components. We might have got a rare component. Oh wait. Oh. Didn't get to finish the other clock. So we're basically, we're basically done here then, aren't we? Seems like it. Okay, well let's head back to contract concluded. Yeah, so we'll leave. Okay. So let's have a quick look at the map, and we'll see what our next step is going to be, because we want to get to Helion Gate, which is... we have enough fuel for it, but I'll probably fill up anyway before we leave on supplies as well. And we'll go... I think we'll end up going straight there next time, because that's where we need to find the thing that we need, isn't it? Actually, let's do the filling up now, so we're ready to go. Fill the fuel. The supplies might be here. Fill supplies, there we go. Looks good. Alright, well we'll leave it there for now, I think. When we come back next time, we're going to head over to Helion Gate and see what we can find. Hopefully a ship mind or a contract that will lead us to one at least. But hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, if you could hit that like button, that'd be amazing. If you could leave me a comment as well, let me know what you think about the story so far and the series. I'm having a great time playing this. I think it's a lovely game. I really like the going out and doing contracts and having, you know, sort of missions away from the hub. Which is, in my opinion at least, a really nice sort of change of pace from the first game, which was all in the same location, pretty much. But yeah, no, good. Having a good time. But let me know your thoughts at least. And, you know, if you're watching this and not yet subscribed to the channel, if you could do that as well, that'd be amazing. So thanks very much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.